You want to use this one?
There's one right here. Did you want an ear one?
Either one. I mean,
We
this
can-
one I prefer.
Well, we can switch with Drupon.
No, yeah, then we can do that.
This one is not gonna read, you might not read.
Well,
We'll try, can try. I got this one.
with Drupon's over
Yeah,
there.
we can just switch.
And then,
Think you don't
Oh, yeah. Nathan, you want this one? Well, good morning, everyone. Merry Christmas Eve. So we'll begin with the opening prayers on page 1 of the prayer book. All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and all-knowingness, may they experience happiness and be separated from suffering. I will quickly establish them in the state of the most perfect and precious Buddhahood.
all
I think just once. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. All sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in the glorious kind Lama Vajradhara, the embodiment of the body, speech, mind, qualities, and activities of the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, source of the 84,000 categories of the teaching, and Lord of the Sanghas. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom.
Nampa Pe Gende Tang Ji Je Ngo Dai Chen Chen Tsawa Tang Ju Pare Ji Lama Damba Nam La Jiao Zi Je Wo Ye Dan Jing Guo Rui Je La Zo Nam La Jiao Zi Je Wo San Jie Jum Den Di Nam La Jiao Zi Je Wo Tan Bie Chu Nam La Jiao Zi Je Wo Pa Pi Gen De Nam La Jiao Zi Je Wo Ba Wo Kan Doi Chu Chong Song Me An So Yi Je Je Jian Dan Den Ba Nam La Jiao Zi Je Wo.
Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas, and I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path.
Hon cha jo nying bo je je wa sang je nam la jiao sun ji an jo da zhang jo sen ba ye co de yin jiao sun ji jie da ngo jie de le xie jie zhang jo to ne ji ba dong an chang jo sen me la ba la de da ren xie ne ba da an tie jian do la pen dong de chang jo sen ne jie jie xin de ne la ba la ren ba xin de la ba jie wo.
In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings.
San Jie Jiu Dan Zuo Jie Qiu Nam La A Jiang Jiu Bo La De Da Ne Jiao Sen Jian Da Ye Jian Zuo Jian Bie Song Nam Jie Du La Bian Jie San Jie Ru Ba Xiu.
May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Ma Nam Ga Dai Nyam Be Sem Chen Tam Jie De Wa Dai De Ve Ju Dan Den Ba Ju Ru Jie An Dong Ra Dan Dong Ra Ge Ju Dan Jie Wa Ju Ru Jie An Dong Ra Me Be De Wa Dan Me De Wa Ju Ru Jie An Yen Cha Dan Yi Dan Jie Ve Dan Yong La Ne Ba Ju Jie.
refuge of all sentient beings without exception, divine subjugator of terrifying Maras, together with their hosts of demons, the one who understands all realities without exception exactly as they are, transcending conqueror, together with your disciples, please come here to this place.
Om Benza Samanza, Benza Samanza, Benza Samanza, Male Samje Gunje Gunje Ando de Bonje Meze Jomze Lai Mona Male Jiyen Jenjurbe Jomde Angorje Nendere Yesu Soram Bade Bube Dube Alo Gengende Nive De Shabda Bade Zasu.
The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the four continents, and the sun and moon. As a Buddha field I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha fields. Whatever merit I have gathered through prostrations, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. And then turn to page 11. Namo. To the Lama of utterly pure appearance and existence, I offer the fundamental ground of appearance and existence. I supplicate you to thoroughly liberate the three realms. Please grant your blessings and overturn the depths of samsara. Sublime Master, wish-fulfilling jewel, crown ornament the inconceivable, inexpressible mind of the victorious ones, the one endowed with the five wisdoms of omniscience, gracious one, the embodiment of love, precious protector of beings, I supplicate you from within the essence of mind. Please grant your blessings from within the innate nature. Please bless me that I may realize the Dharmakaya that is beyond intellect, this primordially unborn, completely pure mind, transcending conqueror, the one thus gone, foe destroyer of afflictive emotions, completely perfected Buddha, endowed with logic and virtue, the one gone to bliss, knower of the world, captain, tamer of beings, the unexcelled teacher of gods and men, I respectfully prostrate, completely touching my head to the stainless feet of the unequaled Shakya king. At the time of your birth, leader of two-legged beings, taking 7 steps on this great earth you proclaimed, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, even then I prostrate. Possessing a body of complete purity, your sublime form is excellent. An ocean of primordial wisdom, you are like a golden mountain. The one whose renown is evident throughout the 3 worlds, protector of supreme attainment, to you I prostrate. To you who are endowed with the supreme marks, whose face is like an immaculate moon, to you, the one with a complexion like gold, I prostrate. A flawless one such as you, among the three levels of existence, is most exquisite. Unparalleled, omniscient one, to you I prostrate. Supreme among humans, captain of those to be tamed, the one thus gone who severs the all-binding fetters, who with senses pacified is utterly pacified and skilled in peace, to that one, the one who dwelled at Shravasti, I prostrate. Refuge endowed with great compassion, totally omniscient one who indicates the way, ground basis for oceans of merit and qualities, I prostrate to the one thus gone. The pure cause free from attachments, the virtue that liberates from the lower realms, the altogether supreme ultimate truth, to the pacifying Dharma I prostrate. Having been liberated, they also reveal the path to liberation. Thoroughly respectful of the three higher trainings, they are a field of sublime qualities. To the Sangha I also prostrate. And so then turn back to page 9.
Namo Nase Namdai Ge Lama Lai Nase Ye Se Choban Bu Ankam Soy Yondore De Soan De Korwa Tong Choi Se Chen Je Lo Anje Ye Xia Norwa Zo Ge Jia Ma San Jo Mi Jarwe To Chen Bi Ye Xia Nga Dan Den Ze We Dan Ye Ga Di Jen Rowa Jun Ze Rinpoche Da Sim Ni Jen Ngan Ne So Wan De Chen Ye Jen Ngan De Chen Je Lo Sim Do Ne Jen Me Nam Dan De Lo De Jo Ge Do Bai Jen Je Lo Jan Den De De Jen Ye Ba Ara Jan Ba Yang Da Ba Ra Do Be San Je Re Ba Dan Xiao Se Den Ba De Wa Ra Ye Ba Je Ne Jen Ba Ji Wen De Ba Ka Lo Jo Ra Lo Na Me Ba La Da Me Nam Je Dong Ba Nya Me Xia Je Je Ba Xiao Je De Zhen Ma Me Ba La Ra De Do De Ge We Chan Ta Lo Kan Ze Kan Ye Zo Wo Jo Dan Ze Sa Chen De Lai Gong Bai Du Wa Ne Wa Ne Je Den De Na Jo Je Song Te Te Ge Bai Je Lai Chang Te Lo Nam Dai Gong Ai Jo De Su Sang Wa Ni Xie Jiang Zuo Zhe Je Lun Bo Da Dang Wai Je Den Song Na Lang E Wa Ang Gong Bo Jiao Ye Je Lai Chang Te Lo Chen Jiao Den Ba Ti Min De Wei Xie Zhen Do Na Wai Je Lai Chang Te Lo De Je Ju De Se Ba Song Nan Ze Nya Mi Jen Jen Je Lai Chang Te Lo Men Jo Nu Wa Ka Lo Jun Ze Jen Gun Jo Ren Chen Wa Jun Ze Di Jen Ye Wang Bo Ye Lan Ye 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 Lan Ge Yo Xiu Ba De Lai Chang Te Lo Gong Bo Tu Jie Che Den Ba Tam Jie Jian Bia Dong Ba Bo So Na Yong Den 将作行，因地心也来将则罗，他本多家结为结，结为年从来多行，结得同担求救我，阿些救了救了将则罗，头呢头为狼羊东。拉巴达拉拉德给先给当巴用den经，给女拉扬相索罗。
And then page 15. I prostrate to the youthful Manjushri, to those in the worlds of the 10 directions, however many there are, all the lions among humans who appear during the 3 times, to all of them without exception, I pay homage with respectful body, speech, and mind. The force of my aspiration prayer for excellent conduct brings all the victorious ones directly to mind. Bowing down with bodies as numerous as atoms in the realms, I prostrate to all the victorious ones. In a single atom there are Buddhas as numerous as atoms, each residing in the midst of their sons and daughters. Like that, I imagine the whole Dharma Dhatu completely filled with victorious ones. To those with oceans of inexhaustible, praiseworthy qualities, with sounds containing oceans of tones of melodic speech, I express the qualities of all the victorious ones. I praise all the Sugatas, with the finest flowers, the finest garlands, music, ointments, supreme parasols, supreme lamps, and the finest incense. I make offerings to the victorious ones, with the finest cloths, supreme scents, and fine powders equal to Mount Meru, all displayed in supreme and magnificent ways. I make offerings to those victorious ones. With vast and unsurpassable offerings, I venerate all the victorious ones. Through the power of faith and excellent conduct, I prostrate and offer to the victorious ones. Whatever negative actions I have performed with body, speech, and also mind, overpowered by desire, aggression, and stupidity, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in everyone's merit, the victorious ones of the 10 directions, the Bodhisattvas, the Pratyeka Buddhas, those in training, those beyond training, and all beings. I request the protectors, the lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who, passing through the stages of awakening, attain Buddhahood beyond attachment, to turn the unsurpassable Dharma wheel. I supplicate with my palms joined together those who intend to demonstrate nirvana, to remain for kalpas as numerous as atoms in the realms, for the welfare and happiness of all beings. I dedicate whatever slight virtue is accumulated through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and supplicating to enlightenment. Page 16. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the 2 vehicles and their combination according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings.
chu jin yin je po dong de de rong sang je gun je ngo ni rang sam ju gong ngo sum tong de be za be la me xiao lo ku zhong zhe 康大九节东间节电脑，得给龙门接着我康，手到天地东北九间，桥人别把身不能渡我当间的，也些那么了了也给当了当的几个中到当没给能，多跟接着给接当把他们几个得到给就电动。Good morning. Happy Christmas. Today that thing nga so tere Christmas day wa
Christmas Eve.
Eve na din da cheba
John Allen, can you hand me that pillow? Thank you. So today is Christmas Eve.
right tin da zo nga so Canada Christmas day ji ko turo ta ya ji go ma yin ba tin Jesus ta Mary to ke ka din do chen go ya ke chin bo des
So, since, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, it's not maybe just about like partying or having a party, but also these are important holy days in which to remember the kindness of Jesus and Mary.
티엔이다 갈세나 제탄 콩테베다 지시시나리 메리나리 대야나이 코지 상제탄 티네 장조 심베케 두바 에너지 차디오레스
Because he believes that, Jesus and Mary and other great holy beings are definitely emanations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas.
티네 대가나 이게 가서 인디비듀얼로 좀노 땅비나야 배제까지 첨부 차디오레스 당보 다직 졸로래 대바요와 대가나 이게 대바 대가나 이게 티네 ngazu ningje tesode karsena ngazu fakcha hyok chenbo ji hyawra namba sangje chu chebar chiwala zo chenbore tini indu ko tini je ke ngazu fakcha hyok chenbo ji hyasha yores kese ngazu peda tongba tongchang tangbong go zudu ne ko teba mewa la khanong je la tini ningje mewa tini je inbina tini ngazu je ke teba je ya ro ningje je ya ro to pemesi kale kha borwa tini indu ko chulo tini ten chulo tele thebachi tike chi nyamlen ningela so bi gombe jumta dina ta nga so nyamlen kharchi na ten le law cha di yorwa tini indu te ko chi kari chembo ba tango bi sa res
So the young Paramitas ngoma la la ke re.
ta che ngoma ina da che thanda ina ra thama ko na ba ma ra ta di background yorwa
And so also there's like great, there's connection that we individually have with them, and individually we can reflect on their kindness because, based on the spiritual tradition that they represent, that many of us actually began with, perhaps in our lives, or perhaps had a connection with in former lives, and had faith. And so there is, faith and compassion in that spiritual tradition as well, and like sometimes very strong, very strong devotion. And this is like creating a positive karmic imprint in the minds of beings, because there is, we have in the Buddhist tradition, if we just all of a sudden met with the teachings of the Buddha, it doesn't guarantee that we have faith, that we have compassion, but, maybe perhaps based on a connection, with another spiritual tradition prior to this, then maybe we have imprints already for faith and for compassion. And so it really is, there's kind of this gradual progression of leading beings, on the path, and many traditions are manifestations that kind of begin, to lead beings toward awakening by connecting them with positive, virtuous karmic, to develop karmic, helping them to develop virtuous and positive karmic imprints, such as faith and devotion, which then, when we, like in our case, perhaps when we met with the Dharma, or when beings then meet with the Dharma, then there is a basis, from which to enter the path of practice, because there's already a positive, virtuous karmic imprint developed there.
Pena Teba Junu Mewa, Tongba Tongjang Jiroa, Teba Mewa, Ningji Mewa Tinina, Tambonga Tungu Tuya Latine, Hansa Kalium Grova, Teba Jena Kasika Leore, Nijia La Kasika Leore, Tindiki, Natula Foundation, you with Jim Sentina, thank you, Lava Nangirita, Nambichuchina, Kuchia Lela Chadi.
So, if, for instance, we start with nothing, we don't have any imprints at all, say for faith or compassion, then it becomes extremely difficult, to develop those qualities just right off the bat. And so on the other hand, if we already have a familiarity, if we already have a connection with these positive mind states, then it becomes easier, to connect with those mind states, perhaps in a different context, such as the Buddhist path, and to give rise to or further develop these qualities.
Sanji, Tambo Dembade, Koran Gegen, Rinpoche, Lakchu, Dan Yorwa, Koran Gegen. That Dan Yoris. Today, Dutine, in a Kotiki, Sanda Jet of your matter, Jail Koran Sanji on the Tine. That the Kadichimborindo, Samchite, Tambo Koran Bede, Tine, Tambo Koran San Jiva Tagarantine, Koran Gagani Bukadi, Yedenchia Latin, Do Yorwa.
So, for instance, with the example of the Buddha himself, the Buddha, first relied on, these teachers of a different spiritual tradition than what the Buddha actually kind of ended up embodying himself. But these were so crucial, these teachers were so crucial to him in his path to awakening. He couldn't have gotten there without their guidance, without relying on them at first. And so when he became the Buddha, when he awakened, he had tremendous respect and devotion for those teachers, and reflected upon their incredible kindness, understanding how crucial they were, in their role, in leading him, to awakening.
Oda Tamboko Kadi Saviak Cheetle, but the San Jiva Tagarana, Oda Gigan Kadi Chimbore, something, Koran Gigan Tambo Gigan Tugando, your Kadi Saviak Cheetle.
And so actually that was one of the first things that became very clear to him, in his awakening was so much gratitude, thinking, reflecting that they have been that they are have shown him the greatest kindness. And so his first motivation was to go find those teachers.
Pay respect.
To pay his respects.
Oda Tindide, Tinidanga train, Tapachi Chokanane, Tineta Tamadi, Hirap Chadiore is.
And so picking up with the teachings on the 6 perfections, the 6 Paramitas, we are on the final perfection, which is the 6th, the perfection of wisdom.
Tinita Zo Karsana, Top TV, Hirap TV, Top Zunita, Top the Karsana, Tene Paro Chimbanga, Tene Hirap Deda, Chubacha the Euro Tinita, Top the Aminaya, Jigio Mare. Penangaso Jimbala so, Matangina, Hirap Jigboke, Pengio Mare. Tiganagi, Yan Jimbala so big a parrot chimbanga, Tang the Uvina Yan, Koji Hirap Mivina, Tene, Yan Pengio Mares.
And so we have the 2 of method and wisdom. And it is so necessary that these 2 are united, that they're together. So to just have method without wisdom doesn't suffice, and to just have wisdom without method also doesn't suffice. So wisdom is the sixth perfection, and then method is all the other five. So if we have wisdom, but we don't have generosity, if we don't have ethical discipline, if we don't have all the other five, then that is not okay. And then likewise, or this won't serve the ultimate purpose. And likewise, if we just have method, but there isn't wisdom there, then that also is insufficient.
변도 샤위는 다 김발라서 베게트네 댄디 유나양 드네지 군직텐들이 타르토비아다 드네 히라미비나 탐지 쳔베 콤보 톡톡 말레스.
So we can develop all of the five perfections that are embody method or our skillful means, and this can lead to a very vast accumulation of merit. But if we don't have the sixth perfection of wisdom, then it no matter how vast that accumulation of method is, it won't lead us to awakening. It won't result in Buddhahood.
어디니다 베나 차샤위는 지 응아토 대중요 차자 첨보 나올라 갈세나 들이 되네 지 손이 넘버사 들이다 라지에 당스 손이 넘버 답에 라지에 당스 오래 되네 랑아기 대바 모고 뭐 드니지 그 요위나 손에 다대 가스나 바로 침바 응안다고 차디어와 디인디 드네 드니지 요나 드네 에다 자가 전부 공부 또 그래 그래서 가스나 히라 그때 또 그래스.
So it is said that, in order to, that which leads to the realization of Mahamudra is the perfection of the two, or vast gathering of the two accumulations. So first, the two accumulations together with faith and devotion, the practice of the five perfections, then and wisdom, that this is then what leads to or results in the full realization of Mahamudra. So the two accumulations being the accumulations of method and wisdom. So the sixth perfection of wisdom together with the other five being the accumulation of merit.
Ding that sama jigli jing dengro ben interesting ro ben hirap jigbo ro yona tamni chembe komo top tugo mare 가르스나 다 가서 지금 삼텐도 공 드리다 지금 도 당랑 지금 고페 내일 내 투고 마도 타바 팀이 쳔베 고모 톱 투고면 도 디인디야 hirap jigbol이나 다 nda기 말이스 이는 양 당기 공투와 나기 쏘놈 그 갸테 hirap 지 파르도 침바 파마도 파르도 침바 나다오지 요비나 디소나 갸텐티게 근데 당기 hirap 토라 디기소나 그 갸텐텔라 때네 된 담이 쳔베 공포 투그레스
So if we just have wisdom, that itself won't benefit because we have to have merit as well. We have to have a vast accumulation of merit in order to reach the state of Buddhahood. But if we don't have wisdom, even though, for instance, in the other five perfections, for instance, there's the perfection of meditative concentration, but without wisdom, even that won't lead to awakening or complete awakening, because it can perhaps lead to like cessation or liberation and final cessation, but without proper wisdom, then it cannot result in Buddhahood. And then, of course, so wisdom also alone needs to be supported by merit. And so if we have the other 5 perfections, it's actually essentially practicing the other 5 perfections in such a way that those 5 perfections are supported by wisdom or are met with wisdom. And then the 5 perfections themselves, when met with wisdom or together with wisdom, then they become causes that result in Buddhahood.
되네 대중구도 가서 상지에 되네 고마토버 치와라 되네 다 데리데 콜로솜 세야지 양 숭구도와 콜로솜 데 가르솜스나 되네 방보테스나 자와 레진 콜로솜레
And so there are essentially 3 wheels three wheels that result in the state of Buddhahood. And the first one is the wheel of karmic activity,
되네다
or
가르스나
karma or activity.
봉와삼테 말하면 탐보 로바토삼 로바라와 로바다 토바삼바 로바토솜 되네다 하야스 봉와삼테센다 공자라라 소바냐메 치아와
Pongwa something? Pongwa like Pongwa?
야
So the first one is the wheel of like a reading, kind of reading, right? Lokpa?
아리 로바토 로
Yeah.
토바 listening 로
So reading, listening, and contemplation. The second is abandonment, perhaps
this third 로
third, right?
당보데 데려와 자와 레진 콜로
Oh, okay. So the first one is the wheel of activity, karmic activity. The second one is reading, hearing, and contemplation. And the third is like renunciation or the path of abandonment through meditative concentration. I think that's what the word is referring to, Pongwa.
이는 양다 당보데 자와 레진 콜로 세야데 개체모 자리요레스
But this wheel, this first one, the wheel of activity, like karma, karmic activity, is very important.
다디 자와 레진 콜로 세야다 가서 삼다 대zam고요 오다 레카 레나 추시라 마레노 베나 삼고요로와 아니나 다디 고추 개체모지 자리요레스
So sometimes there's the thought that work somehow, like, activity, too much activity or work is not really true dharma, but actually it is definitely dharma.
다디 니 가서는 고 파운데이션 주야데 데레 베는 가서 지츠밀라 다디 기나라 고지 저와 레카 치야라 팽기요레라 초직네 가서는 가서 상 제버 치와라 지 데파 장바르 치와라 되네 가서 내가 간디 쌓여라나 가서 루지고는 쌓여래 나지고는 쌓여래 되네 이지고는 쌓여와 담보티 내가 장야 들라 되네 루티 간라 되네 내가 장고고요레스 되네 뒤슈라 nga ki dikwa nga 쌓여라 서버와 되네 타마디 페나라 되네 이기 dikwa 장야 되다 당기 kondiwa 나리 다 저저치 뭐 공부요나 히라 공부요나 뭐 티기 장고요와
And so the way, in which this functions as dharma, this wheel of activity, is that, wait, Jitsu Miller Bagare? Jitsu Miller Bagare?
지츠미라 남탄도 우리 지엘랍는데
Oh, okay.
pen for example melade ba
So if we use, for instance, Jetsun Milarepa as an example, like his life story, we can see how this functions. The thing being that, at first, it's really necessary to apply oneself in virtuous, like, karmic activity, because because in order to reach the state of Buddhahood, we have to purify obscurations. And obscurations develop through the activity of the three doors. So they're developed through the door of the body, through actions that we do with our body. They're developed through the door of speech, through things that we say. And they're developed through the door of the mind, based on our thoughts and so forth. And so if we accumulate obscuration through these three doors, then the way to purify them is also by means of or through the activities or the actions of these three doors. And so first, the body, like the most coarse of these are afflictions, are those that are accumulated through the body. And so the first is to engage the body in virtuous activity, which counteracts or purifies those obscurations. Then secondly, a slightly more subtle level is the door of speech. And then finally, the door of the mind, which, those obscurations are then thoroughly purified through practices such as Mahamudra.
Tenda jitsu mileke namthar la tawina ben tzongdo jitsu mila kora gomya bo jabari thike ji sangje gre songdo mar khar song yor se marbeke nge chargila kharsna jitsu mila di ko ji kulu ma phawa khachu ne sundoya gitene charge yores. Ti charge de karsena ta korange kali khaksho lekha kali khaksho thingma gu teya keta charge yoris kon planning lo yina yang tene ta yom dangme be ningje cheta ne tene jik thalan ko khala teya la soba rokwa chiya la soba chi nge khasi kale job ko la be kangi tv na yang ti arkab la yang yom dangme ke rokwa ro chiwi jumsen tene tene nge ke ta kola tene kawa chimbu ji tang cheka ma to tene ji to ma sons ya ta tindi indi ina mlare ba koran sanda ji gre ina yang ko kulu ma fa ka chu ro to mares jumse karsna ko kawa chimbu gut ji yo mares o ti indi ta thambo ti ji dangi chawa le jin kholo zung sanje ti leka de ko luju go ne le ya de tene ta ko tsawanda wo de chadi yores ben tangili ben hera maybe na tene hera yobi ina ya tene ya tarwa tan keme ko mo top to mares korgena targa mares onro karsna ko zona yapten yo marwa.
So with the example of Milarepa, for instance, so Milarepa, through his meditation, he didn't reach actually the highest level of fruition that Marpa was intending for him to, because Marpa himself said that his intention was for Milarepa to be transported completely, body and all, to the pure realm of Kechara without having to cast off his physical form. And so for this reason, he put him through the 9 great hardships, these 9 hardships. He had the plan, but then because of his wife, Yum Dagmema's great compassion, she sort of kept interfering to help Milarepa. And so because Marpa was so hard on Milarepa, really putting him through such extreme hardship and difficulty, because her compassion was too great, she, kind of came to the rescue of Milarepa in a sense, and, gave him food, gave him clothing, gave him assistance, because she had great compassion for him. And so for that reason, Milarepa was only able to complete the 8.5 hardships. He wasn't able to completely fulfill the 9th hardship. And so for that reason, he did attain enlightenment. He did attain Buddhahood, but not like not without casting off his body. So he wasn't able to be transported to the pure realm of Kichara without leaving behind his physical form. And so that is said to be why. And that really shows or indicates the power and necessity of that wheel of activity, of karmic activity in the process of awakening. So even if there's wisdom there, wisdom alone, cannot lead to the ultimate fruition. It has to be supported by the accumulation of merit. There has to be this sufficient merit there as well.
다 소남도 자침부리도 와 베네지츠 밀레기다 제단고 곰자버리 곰자네 되네 직다는 처음에야 직강랑 고강랑 샤네 되네 되네 용금이 봐 곰자버리 또 몰라서 봐더니 에베 항상 갈레지아바 소버 양 칼라마제네 곰자버리 되네 이나야 말바 콘레 가르송스나 오다 드솔레 치네 몰라리바 상지버리스 송금도 와 가서 담보 파운데이션 대야나 거나 까와제야 디게 다 대요나 디소남 디게 또게 되네 지게리 되네 건조 자도 부여서와 대마도 계지 디소남도 또 메비나 되네 야고 곰자마도 비안다고 되네 공로 파치긴한다 라서 용거로 봐 이니야 몰라리베 깡속 봐 정도 돼 다 요래 된다디 몰라리베 도포질 깡속 라도 깡속 깡바속 세나 just 깡바속 세나 다 feet are ground 로 깡바속 오 tenna ita ko kam tsuyati kharcho gyorsna ko kale mambo jawa telatene tene ta ko gom jaga altene ko da le ko kanda kale da jaga yor thina ya ko obstacle khaya mewa tsugu yor tsuyati marwe khabo melare ba gom jawa re ta pe da tomo gom bare tene kawachi de ma gom jawa re tene sanje gri lab me do o melare ba ta ka thambo pe de ta sonam
And so Milarepa also, is the kind of quintessential example of meditation diligence and attainment in meditation. How much there are all these stories of him meditating for months on end with a giant butter lamp on his head, poised on his head, or the stories of how he kind of endured so much hardship in generating the heat of tumo, and then for much of his meditative experience he went without food, so he really exemplifies great diligence in meditation, and yet still that is not what his awakening is primarily attributed to. So what it is attributed to is the hardship that he endured in the beginning. And that is what enabled him, his hard work and hardship was what enabled him to then become capable of meditating. So if we just pursue meditation without the proper merit behind it, then the meditation itself, can be besought with a lot of obstacles, and it can, really maybe not result in the intended outcome. And so Marpa had said that this, what he put Milarepa through in the beginning, that the hardships that he had to endure, the hard work that he had to do, that was like, I don't know how to translate this. That was like kind of like the starting place. That was what rooted him, like rooted his feet to the ground, literally is what he said in Tibetan, in kind of his, like in his path and directing him on the path. And then, when there is that initial activity, that like purification through activity and merit that occurs, then when one enters the path of intensive meditation, there are fewer obstacles. One is maybe able to, generate the heat of tumo and so forth. And then the meditation really leads to Buddhahood. But if if one just thinks that it, like, right off the bat through meditation alone, that this is the path, then most likely there will be a lot of obstacles because one hasn't sufficiently purified one's karma yet.
어다 대간나 이게다 부크나라 어디 접도 뭐뭐 총벌에 이나야 디나네 디네다 단도 반데 아디샤 다 참여하고 그러와 다 디클로마 다 자라 동자 된데 요래 이나야 디나네다 롬동바 저변 중에 송도 롬동바 저변 중에 게다 가자님마 가서 봐 직대인 봐
Gyawa Jungne.
롬동 저변 중에 가래 저기 요래 슬라비나 Tene korang pagi pecha jiksha. Tengdo.
I don't know what that.
Pecha tagu yorwa.
Oh, re.
Tene ko kamba lang aso ti kambe ki ti ledar sogyo zigi yorwa. Tene jabla tene homa ji ko mar sogyo yor homa ti de shaking china. Tene ko tanda ti lakpe ground ra chi yorwa ti zamba tagu yorwa. tendiji kita ko ti chawa de leka ta ko chu chine yang ta leka tendiji chigi yores.
And so there are many examples of, great Mahasiddhas and yogis throughout Tibet. And among all of them, perhaps one of the greatest is the great Padanatisha, who had many, many disciples. But among them, his foremost disciple was Drontompa, or Drontompa Gyalwe Jungne. And so he said that he shared with you all the image before. There was the image of him doing like many activities at once. So he is reading a text, reading a Dharma text, studying, and then he's, I guess, curing leather with his feet, like stepping on the leather. And he is shaking or making butter on his back, and with his hand he's grinding. What is he grinding? Barley flour. And so this is kind of an example, right, of like activity in the pursuit of Dharma. So his hands are not empty. So he was always doing something, always kind of like productive in his activities.
Tini tan katang oma hiwa na ye da nga tutu se ya de be han sang ka le ka bo wa tutu se ya de ko be precious no stand no cha de yores.
So time is so precious. It's like gold, and it is passing so quickly. So, Dini? So if your hands are not empty, if you're always engaging in something, then you're using your time.
That is, I think, true. So, the band of Chashavina, Pejana Takatani Malawi, Mone, Penanga Dharma Center was some Tamina, not the Majik Dadi Jokayo Mare, Masuyunguna, Teletabare, Suyuna de Yore, Teleregulation Kayo Mares. I love yours.
So, for instance, with the Dharma Center, the Dharma Center is not like one person's Dharma Center. It isn't owned by anybody. Whoever comes here and uses it, it is theirs.
What the young Tichigores ko what at the Natsure, Natsondo Gre, Sambando, Tichigu Maimba, Tigana Yikuya, Dharma Center, the knees and betone. When I got to Kambangarism, the take care Chigua, Tenayiki, Koelian, Yungentele motivation, Telekarago do take care of the authentic Goyoris.
And this is really beneficial also for everybody who comes, because if you can feel like, oh, this is my Dharma Center, then there is more motivation to take care of it, or to, all of the activities that you do for the Dharma Center become an accumulation of merit. And so it's just like when we have a sense of ownership, like, oh, my house, we take good care of our house, you know. And so then when you recognize that like this is your Dharma center, it allows you to have the motivation to take care and to contribute and to engage in activity that then ends up becoming of great benefit to both you and others.
What how to go somewhere? Bigger things help the donation loss will help. In a small was some of Tana, Benning as a chuton or Levina, Chotolia, Yona, Ben Henk branch in the Oji Sayuna. Didn't take Pagila fireplace to low in that he has a great marriage chat yours.
The Apokoma Songshin.
Benning as a branch in the Masadi or watching. What they are dog. Empty hand my imbatinity go upon Rogoro, Rogo and Jimmy, the Leka Marwa. Kissy Lapsona, Hengi, branch in the Sayuna, the key, Tenepa, fireplace Yana, Hansa, be married child yours.
And so, you know, whether like whatever kind of help or activity. So, for instance, like if a tree branch falls.
Bigger thing the Chicho Grace, right? Pen donation chia.
Oh, so you can do.
Small thing.
So all activities are meaningful and beneficial. Like even so big things like making big donations or big projects are
Real work.
are good, but then even just small activities like if a branch falls and then you help to cut up that branch and bring it to the fireplace.
Right. Also small things. If you look, branches fall. You can see, pick up, and put the fireplace. You can just walk.
I think he means in the fire pit.
Right.
Yeah, over there. Yeah.
And also sometimes like we called Telegroa. Gewan rogon du yores. Gewan rogon du yores. Drobe kabla gewan tigas ndona gewaji satu grace.
Oh, so
this divina dea tala yang gewa satu grace.
So there are opportunities for creating merit wherever you go, whenever you're going, and there are opportunities for creating merit whenever you're sitting. So whether you're walking or you're sitting, there are opportunities for merit.
So kisi bathroom roji ndona kisi tanda wheat roji wheat sakudo.
Weeds.
Yeah, weeds.
Yeah.
Roji go medoza teji go pona ina kotela eka khaya yom kale yom arwashira teji go re tenda roji polchina tene hendo yores.
So like for instance when you're walking to the bathroom?
No bathroom, wherever you walk.
Or anywhere, and then you see some weeds and you think, oh, like those weeds need to be pulled. And in that moment, you're just like, pull up a few weeds.
Right, only one piece. That's like kind of like no civic job. Okay, today is where we can cut the trees and clean up. Those is the different time. But even though you come here, just like about your walk, or sometimes you get in like they do. I think many people too. Or maybe 2 days, like maybe garbage day, you put the garbage bag, trash there, or something like things, just we see, like also aware, what they need to do things. Sometimes we confusing too, oh, I can help, but what nobody say, what we do, this is kind of somebody order the, do this, do this.
Like waiting for direction.
So that really is yes, big things we can do, but small things, no permit to 1 week, Paul. You can break something. The branches fall in the ground. You can pick up. So no need order or no need permit or nothing. So that's actually this good merit. So this kind of interesting. Yesterday we talking about some small things, great merit. So sometimes you do very great big things, but sometimes merit is small. Like for instance, these big teachings, like Dalai Lama teachings, they sponsored, They maybe one day sponsored, probably there's $10,000, $20,000, maybe more, $100,000. This big thing, right? So maybe all the thousands of monks and lamas and then, or even the Dalai Lama. This big, it is big, but same time, so he thinking, oh, I did a good job, I just very famous, or maybe there's something like a computation, so maybe there are many donors too, so, or my is biggest, or, so the actual thing is really big, but then the merit is become very small, reduce. So sometimes, just you can do small things, look like, doing is nothing, it's just pull tree branch, put there fire pit. That seems to be nothing, right? Just even though you just walk away, just use something, you can walk right around, and this, you round something, there's leaves or branches, you pick up, put somewhere. Or maybe you walk somewhere, even though like not in Dharma center, maybe you can, in the street, if you see like one beer or like whatever, Coca-Cola can, or you pick up.
Mm-hmm.
So
Not a bear,
really
but a beer.
So that's kind of thing, so this is kind of the opportunity to all the time, the accumulation merit, Less big things, you can do big things, specific things, you're okay, but also like all the time, small things, you big things, small things. So that's actually really, really important, every Dharma practitioners. That is that here up, that here up the then that ben here up road, that Kazanga the Tamala some do your some do your day, Tinita, Tambo take Karsina, and you can be here up, sorry. Then you can be here up, you can be here up. Then you can be here up, chambers, you're that.
So with wisdom, just as with the other 5 perfections, as if you remember, there are 3 different categories for each of them. So with the perfection of wisdom, the first one is worldly wisdom. Then there is transcendent wisdom, or wisdom that kind of transcends the world. And the third is great transcendent wisdom. So the first one is the worldly wisdom.
Ordinary daily
So the first one is the worldly wisdom, which is, ordinary kind of wisdom that is employed like in our ordinary daily activity, that is connected, wisdom that understands, how to correctly apply yourself in practice, kind of just as we've been speaking of.
Specific the wisdom de la repeat nature
but in general, all of the worldly wisdom can fall into the categories, like specifically of the 5 major sciences and the 5 minor sciences, or yeah.
The 5.
And so those are the 5 major sciences are craftsmanship, logic, grammar, medicine.
So craftsman. Then so me. Then okay.
So just the order was different, but like craftsmanship, or like art basically, medicine, grammar, logic, and inner science, meaning like Dharma.
No, not grammar. I think that's strange.
Draw is not grammar?
No, grammar, the depending chungarwa.
No, he's saying that should be in the category. Dini gare la yin chirang dra la.
Okay, so
Uh-huh.
so it's not craftsman. That so
Craftsmanship.
Europe so good like to go na to activity so
So like
whatever activity so that things
kind of like skills,
so
sort of all sorts of skills of creation, like, artistic abilities, but also like technology and things like that would fall into that category.
Then so bad that medical.
So then medicine.
That in all medicine, magic boy in
So like all forms of healing fall into this category, or healing arts or practices.
I think it darikpa.
So dra rikpa is grammar. Dra. Or I mean you just said dra, not in the Tibetan.
I don't think that's not grammar.
Okay, so what did you say? Linguistics. Yeah.
Yeah, darikpa, yeah, linguistics, and also linguistics. Yes, I think that's good. Right, that's good. Darikpa. Okay. In that tinala ko dratala tini cook do that dala do when linguistic re tigana yi ke tini chik tezam main be ke ta danke pa tini yuna tini chik beda mu lagi do mu gi do mother lu gi do ta chik simjen himbe gi do tini ko gu yasarwa
So this kind of covers all things to do with language and sound. Yeah, so it probably would be linguistics. And it also means that you understand even other languages, all the languages of humans, and also like non-humans, animals, and so forth.
Okay, that will come using chaos. That is the carry. The insect the parawa.
Tani nangdun.
No. The last
And then the fifth is like the inner sciences or dharma.
But that is repeated the chunga telata, ngate, nyanga grammar in Sarvatati,
So that's why he was feeling that the grammar one goes in the 5 minor sciences.
So this repeated chunga nyanga.
So there are different types of grammar that appear here, like poetry. Right. And then here it says synonyms for this one, but actually it's more kind of like metaphorical language, kind of. No, poetry is a different. I mean, it's there in the same, but it's a different.
Third one's Debjor.
Third one is. Debjor is composition.
No, sorry, grammar.
Or he's calling it grammar.
Yeah, Nyanga is grammar. But Debjor, sorry. Then Dogar.
And then performance or drama. Or theater. And then math and astrology.
Right. Ta ngonju seya tela ta main damada yores. Pena ngonju da wina ngato pena ta hing la hingdong. Hingdong tzo la main la karsna kangthong la gres.
So this one that here is translated as synonyms, which is more of like kind of metaphorical, but also like poetic language, is kind of, it's like in terms of vocabulary or names that are given to things. Often in Tibetan, things will have other names that are like descriptive, poetic names. Like, for instance, tree is also known as a foot drinker, like drinker through the foot, one who drinks through the feet, meaning that they take water from their roots. But the word is like foot straw or something.
Oh, tiga na yetine tendo tondros la gro tondo togo kondowa.
And then there's also the term, belly goer, or one who moves on its belly, which is a snake.
대가 나기다 나와라고 있나? 되네. 시젤라 그랬어.
Or like the moon is also like clear beauty, or
No, 시셀 대로 타모 쿨라.
cooling, beautiful one, or beautiful cooling.
break. 시셀 라 세보라고 해서 break. No. break. 세보.
Bright,
Yeah.
bright. Yeah, cooling and bright. Right. Yeah. Oh, do they?
It's a lot like that also in Sanskrit.
Sure, yeah, definitely. That's a lot. Actually, this because of come from India. So, so that thing that we mambo yoris.
So that's like a whole category.
Like
Yeah.
everything almost. Like tini chunchok.
Everything, yeah, can be chuncho.
Chunchok sena chu yoro chu group. Nala chunchok lamna. Tina chehyo te yak ku tsuri sena langjian wa tendo.
Oh, or like, the supreme among animals, which is an elephant.
No, this main is chunchok
Right. True meaning what?
group.
Oh, supreme in the group.
Right. Ti chehyo ro te langjian cha de yoris.
And that is an elephant. That's another name for elephant. Like the best in the
I think
group.
it's not,
Yeah.
What is flock?
Flock.
Huh?
Yeah. Flock, maybe flock.
Flock,
I
yeah,
don't
flock.
really know what the word.
Yeah, flock among
They're the best of the leader
chinchok,
among the group.
spring flock is the elephant, right? No, that thing though yours. Then dogara labu, dan dogara lab MCV kita mambo yours.
And then with performance in theater, there's also a lot of
Yeah,
different
category.
categories.
Kasi na tanga so jiki tabia lo laya tesores.
Dance and song and so forth.
tiga na kita ti na ne tadung karsan dogara tela karsina tseke. Pena nga so ngema ti lau liang yoro, tsunga so ji so yoro wa kechanga. De song nga so de so yoro wa, tsutem nga so hot.
Oh, so like
This kind of hansa yo, korang meng le, category kan jek de wa pena. Korang na le ya, different language through the song do chag yoro wa.
so there's, for instance, maybe you remember Drupon was talking at one point about this effort that he was doing with a group of other people. Soltram, if you know Konchok Soltram, he also was part of this effort to collect these songs that are just like passed down, basically verbally. But they're these songs that are traditional, they kind of are basically like another language. It's like a language through song, essentially. So that's like a whole category in itself, for instance, of, yeah.
Da song tela ko nyembo yo wa che, yina ti na la, pena nga so miji chok dubo ndong do lamna, da dubo lamna tsek te pe karse ko chi. Bear no ro, barefoot no pe.
Barefoot?
Da negate no pe, katek do ji yor wa tsek te pe tabo. Katek chona dubo re, chona yabu mendo lamna.
So it's basically like
Interesting,
a
what?
coded language. So these songs are sort of sung in a group, like in the village. They kind of sing them to one another, but there's kind of this coded way of telling people how you really feel about them, whether good or bad. And like, for instance, if somebody is bad or you think they're bad, then you kind of refer to them as barefoot or naked. And everybody sort of knows what that means, but it's this sort of this coded way of saying.
Right, so this kind of, ordinarily we said, or something said, oh, you're bad, or you're this ugly, or your knowledge is kind of like really nice, sound, look like directly. But through the song, they didn't say you are bad, or you are ugly, or not good person, There's no related at all, but you sing the song exactly means But even the hearing is that there's no word of you're bad, you're ugly, or just nothing. But you sing the song, so everyone understand. And same thing, so this, or I like you, I love you, I care you, those things also like direct, oh, I love you.
So a lot of like romance happens through these songs in a public setting.
Right, so then this kind of really, but really nicely, they never word you, I love you, I care you, or I love you, not there. But they sing the song, that means everybody understand. And also, kind of because everything is through the song, through the nicely, so very happy to joyfully reply quickly. Everybody kind of beg for to reply, But sometimes, for instance, maybe this is different, but like somebody shy, like sometimes, oh, I love you, or like you say, maybe not reply, you some man said something, woman not reply, or whatever. Those things, but if the song, whatever, doesn't matter.
They can
or
reply.
Woman, they just did.
It's like, oh, you're so pretty, but I don't like something like that. It's like a diss track.
Exactly. Tiga na ti or mola na giro. Ina chora ha sa nyem jibodu. Ina ya chora somebody yakwa hira mendo la yak yoris.
So he said, yes, in fact, there's a song just like that that's like, you're really pretty, but your mind is not so good.
Or sometimes ti or ina chora tiya nying jibodu ti mendo ina ya chora ha sa yak be.
And then there's the
Sabab
reverse,
go
like
team
you're
shop
not
nga
so
ka-
attractive,
I'm
but
not
your
looking for
mind
chora-
is really pure and good, like,
Sitting looking for chora ti chora beauty no tagi yo maris. Nga
And
kata
so
gosa
I'm
chora
not
the same
looking
te
for
pe te
beauty,
wa
what I love is your mind.
As long as we sing.
Well, that tender with me, that is what that and dogars, I think, 2 years.
And so that is the category of like arts and theater, kind of, or theatrical. I mean, that falls in the category. There are many, many different categories within that category.
Oh, that in the theater now, that he Benatana Pecha Tangendo, then it only. That repeat nature, repeat Nengatala. Keparma Jan the Yans. That repeat the Junom. Then it Nengala. John Kepamatona. Kepamayana.
So these are important even in the pursuit of Buddhahood, these 5 major and minor sciences. If there isn't development of worldly knowledge and wisdom, then without that, one also can't attain enlightenment.
The Tibetan Buddhism, Tibet texts, they Kisi Pecha Majana Lot Logrua, Inatona Hogmaris.
So, if, for instance, with the text, if we don't have a development of these otherworldly types of knowledge, then, when we read the Dharma text, then we won't have like a thorough understanding. We won't be able to fully understand them.
Jumsen Karsna Pecha Lata, Tanadeldo, poetry do.
Because many of these
Yeah,
categories also comprise like Dharma scripture, like there's poetry, there's grammar, there's logic, there's composition, synonyms. So if we don't know these, if we're not versed in them, then we won't really understand the meaning of the text.
These days, even though like I saw some dictionaries, you don't allow that.
So even these days in like this one, Todo is this one of these, right? Ngunjo. So even this one that, so he looked up some of these words in the dictionary, and you don't, even the Tibetan dictionary, Tibetan or, yeah, and you don't, and they're not really explained correctly, so.
Tiga na yi ta nga chong sangak chim. Sangak ka chu tu chong ma yang ko tsek chong ka so yo.
And so this is also particularly relevant in the context of Tantra or secret mantra, that like especially when it comes to, kind of like the hidden meaning in words and such.
O te ndu ta ti repeat ne nga te ki chim bo cha de sa res.
So these 5 major and minor sciences are really important.
Tiga na yi no matter kasin kepa ina. Rwa. Pecha ten ri ja thu gro pecha ha sa pecha kepa ina. Yang te peta so beda ordinary tsek gang sama yuri ala pe basically ka bo res.
So even somebody who's really intelligent or like really smart in like Dharma or the texts, then when it comes to ordinary words,
Yeah, become completely make ordinary. Lab gona kali khabarwa.
if they need to speak like in an ordinary sense, it becomes difficult.
Yeah, very difficult.
Yeah.
So is it that someone might be versed in the Dharma text, but they just make it ordinary language? They don't have this.
Right, so this basically is you can say, okay, teaching, right? So teaching is the Dharma topic, this text. I say to the
In ordinary layman's
way, like
terms,
normal
yeah.
conversation, like that's very, very hard. Right, so this one time we was in the Tibet settlement in the nearby Changchop Lane. So I did like Manu Dupchi, I think Virginia there too. I think
It was a very long time ago.
right, long time ago. So this built stupa, so on. So I this 100 million
2006.
retreat something. So that time is the like lay people not much understand, So I said, you guys really study like about Dharma, then you they really interesting faith, devotion, Dharma practice. They want to really people practice Ngondo or so on. So maybe the best is you can bring the Kembo from Changchobling. Actually, this is like 1 kilometer or something. That's distance.
The monastery, Zhangzhubling, is like 1 kilometer away from the settlement.
Right.
So it would be easy for Kimbo to come and teach them the Dharma.
So then this kind of I did the arrangements,
So he arranged that
So then
for
the
someone
Kembo
to
teaching.
come.
The next year I went to there. The lay people said, probably there's pretty good teachings, but we don't understand one word. So Kembo just style is like monks.
For teaching to
The
monks.
college teaching style, I can say many things, this and that, like this. Scholar said this, or this scholar said this, that, all. And really, they said, really told me that I think probably, of course, there's really good teachings, but we didn't get only one word. I don't understand at all. So that's kind of a conflict, if you don't know these all things. But luckily, then we in Dongor Chuje, right? We see that they
So
lucky
there's a very wonderful Lama, Dongor Chuje, who is extremely skilled. Like he's gone through the whole like Kimbo training and also has done years of retreat in Lapji. And he is, just an excellent scholar, but he speaks very clear, like he can put it in very simple language.
So that he has the commentary of the King of Aspiration prayers.
He's written his own
I
commentary
think this also this
of the
he
King
has
of
the two,
Aspiration prayers.
another commentary. What is the Minjushiri Sama
Namasamgiti.
commentary and the King of Aspiration commentary. So those very clear the lay people can read like newspaper. They understand. So that's he can do. Normally, even though like Kembo, I said it looks very scholarly, but very difficult to speak. Everything is put in the like ordinary way. So 어떻게 다도 케그레 손에 대가 나기다 고름보치 랍도와 리페케 네도 만케비나 되게 말에 대가 나기 양 지텐디 기나라 리페 네도 장고래 손에 리페 네도 양 타마이나 양지 ordinary ke leka benanga to da ji zama soya da zama mada zama cha sona klai part to kandi fix ji go jala ji cha sona tine kandi fix ji go de so na yi tine ya go jang go de so.
So Guru Rinpoche said that it's very important to know these major and minor sciences, both for the Dharma and also in a worldly sense, because then there's a lot of like practical capability that is developed through these skills, these areas of knowledge. So like even down to, for instance, like if a clay pot breaks, then you know how to repair it.
That repeating that in Jitan BK, that here up, then Jitan Lendi be here up the law, here your is.
So that's the worldly wisdom, and then there's the transcendent wisdom.
That thing you didn't that Penatananga so big, Jitan BK here up, that gomba. Teletene, Tobaton, Samba Gomba Chivala Tenetene, Chick Banata, daughter would is not a chick Metsambala, Tsawa La Soba, Tening also that Metsambala, someone the ordinarily, Tene chick Dog Nevala Tene, chick Tangas Terwa, Zandi data, change lobas only. Metsambala Tsangwan Ziba, Damebala Datan Zimba, Metabala Takban Ziba, Tenet Dongevala Devan Zimba. Tenetineta, daughter will start Dungarimba or Dungarim Hakogro, Metangwala, Metangimba Hakogro, change a law here, daughter is here.
So the transcendent wisdom is developed through the activities of study, contemplation, and meditation, and they lead to, understanding things as they actually are, like overcoming kind of the misapprehensions that essentially are the basis for our samsaric experience, like fixating or apprehending a self where there is no self, perceiving that which is actually unclean or impure as pure, or unclean as clean, perceiving that which is impermanent in nature to be permanent, and taking what is actually the nature of suffering to be the nature of happiness.
Benanga Chadi, that Metambala, Tangwan Zidu, that Metambala, Yamena, Dungela, Dewan Zimba. Sonde. That in the country girls and no more be good long there, no more good land over. No more be good long there, Tella. Could take a duty to me, could do me. In that Hamagone, Tinecoji Dumetric Devatogre, no examined it. Devan Zingioris.
So for instance, taking that which is actually the nature of suffering to be the nature of happiness. So this happens all the time because we are motivated by afflictive emotions, which are the nature of suffering. And those afflictive emotions we think will lead to, like if we, kind of follow them, that they are actually going to accomplish our best interests, or they're actually going to lead to happiness. So not understanding correctly the nature of suffering, then we think that, based on this afflictive emotion, that somehow as it will bring us happiness.
That thing you tell on Tananga so that you can choose and Tanga to tell it, Koji Dama Tella, Ranka Magavatella, Dama China, that you can't talk or some Gurwa. And I said, Toyama, Dama take it to get Gurwa.
So, like with aversion or hatred, we it's essentially what we find, like based on the 8 worldly concerns, but, we think that, in this emotion of disliking someone that we perceive as harmful, that somehow that's protecting us or that's going to benefit us, but actually that just brings suffering.
So very difficult, right? But in but only the Yamlan Yapo, China, Yamlan did not sound your one, Dadam go to Dala, don't want Jibida, over Jibika, or what I'm what. Tijigo, Chitovina, Sanjo Coma top Taris. In that thing of the Chitugu Marwa, cook Che, Gaza the Chagiore, Magasala Dangiora, that Tino Hope, Tigan got a big conflict, Conabe. Jipataco, Jik Matama, some Guiore, Tini, there. Dungat Devari some Guiore, Ta, Cometaba, the Tapari some Guiore, or that Tikipe, was a conflict, and Coranching, teaching the Orwa.
So if we, and everything is really contained in this, like just in those lines that we begin with every, session, like the all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, etc. And so everything, like if we were to live by those words alone, we would become Buddhas. Everything that is needed is there in that single prayer. But we can't, that's not how our kind of samsaric mind works. So it is divided into, liking those which we kind of have attachment to, or that we have, that which we perceive as pleasant, and pushing away those that we feel aversion to, or disliking what we perceive as unpleasant. And we think that that is going to bring us happiness, but actually it brings us suffering. And so it's the same with the others too, the perceiving what is actually unclean in nature to be clean, perceiving what is actually impermanent to be permanent, to perceiving that which does not have a self to actually have a self, and so forth. Yeah.
That he depend on Joan, you can some Jumbo get in it, Jigta, and the Kamomla so down to it, that Becha Beja Chimbutini Yori, that Kachutini Korda, Matsela Kachuna Yori. Yin a young, that teach Kumuk and Matopala, Toberchi, top, Tinitan Matobeke. One year that Tiki, Joan, you can some Jumbuke, that Kamominari, Kongason shall be chook and Nala. So Nimboji Duna, Tanda the dollar down Chibuda, nobody said Terida. Ko Kawen Drona Koji Kon Yungsa Tamadi, Ko Sanji Komoto Guyunare, Jikendi Koji Carcereta, Dungili Trogo Yunare, that Tichana, that Nimbona, Yungsa Tigan Yunguyores.
So Lord Jigten Sumgan, there are so many like wonderful and profound teachings that come from him that we can find, for instance, in his collected works or collected teachings, the Kabum, etc. So there are many different teachings, but everything really is contained in that like single prayer of his, all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me. So like the entire essence of his Dharma is there, in that one prayer. And so if that is achieved, then we will really become free from suffering.
Or Buddhahood,
Or attain the state of Buddhahood.
Or that thing that and that he done Jitan the Bihira, the tongue of the Yendo, Ranjar, to Zola, so better, so Tayores.
And so there are the different levels, for instance, of the transcendent wisdom, such as like the wisdom or the attainment of Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas.
That had on time, Jitan the Bihira Chambos on that, and Jitan the Bihira, that and that in Jitan the Bihira Chambos. The last here up is.
And then the great transcendent wisdom is the last category.
Or that take her and thank you when I get to carry young Gorsena, Tangi, Ko Sunday, Dr. Chinchilot, and Zingenke, Manzia, here up the Tobarava, Yandos, here up your here up Tobari. Yina Yanta, take her and a cottage, 고 년동 곡페이 영라 내대야지 뭐도 고 타와탕 쳔베 고마 토요 말와 다 대단기 초용고다 히럽 그 잡 마소리 소놈 그 잡대
And so it's essentially that the transcendent wisdom is often referring to like the wisdom of Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. And then the great transcendent wisdom is that attainment which surpasses that. So for those who attain the realization of Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, they reach the state of cessation or liberation. They become completely liberated from samsara, but they haven't reached, the fully perfected awakening of Buddhahood, and at some point in their state of cessation, then they kind of are aroused from their meditative absorption and have to continue further in their accumulation of merit because they don't have sufficient merit as the support in order, to reach like the full culmination of perfected Buddhahood.
다대 가르고 그래 라비나 다 단기게 다나다 차 대 8월 침방 나도 거다 반복할 거서 다 디나네 다 소때 가르나 거서 택바 침복 심지 소로와 택바 침복 심지 발치발로 바로 침방 나고 그래 어디에다 반복 특징 심지 요나 단기기다 년도랑자라 소비게 장대 다다 친지로 그 헤랍이 또비 디토라 되네 장접생 거래 다 장접생 공부를 지어라 장접생께 람냠슬렘바들라 다 단계 바로 침방 알아와 보다 택나도 보고 그래 디 바로 침방 하거나 되네 다배 헤랍 첨부세야 차그레스.
So even though they have the wisdom, the transcendent perfection of wisdom, it isn't fully developed through the other 5 perfections, and so because of the absence of bodhicitta. So in the great vehicle, then there is, they have to enter the great vehicle through further developing the 6 perfections, through essentially practicing the other 5, meaning like, that they then are kind of apply themselves in the development of bodhicitta.
들어와 돼. 싫어.
싫어라 그래?
말이 되네. 장접샘 기타 냠래 장접샘 보고 그래서 택바침 못해라. 들라서에서 택바침 못해라. 장접샘 보고 그래서 장접샘 냠들 거나 냠래야라 가고 그래서 바로 침방 갖고 그래.
So in the great vehicle, what is necessary is bodhicitta, and the way to apply oneself or develop in bodhicitta or develop bodhicitta is through the other 5 perfections.
다 돼요나? 돼 상지 고마도 그래.
And then if that is present, then the result is Buddhahood.
오다 돼 히랍제 바로 침발에 다 배전들기. 다 되니까시 지라비아도 다 샤게리 살이 되도시다에서 말이 대인들이 So do you have some questions, comments?
Rinpoche, can you speak about the difference between Sherab and Yeshe?
이나 더나 제탄 저보 이서와 이나다 이해들이 디상고 책콘서 못하나 이해세야 제다 해세야지도 이해세야들라 당원이 지나 아데 나서 이엔도만에 요대와 배낭가서 딱 버리 보다네 잘라고 걸어와 대다 나서 이케메기 힝 말와 나서라베 타마바인 바로다 딘리로지 히게 요마티나야 그 이엔도만에 나서 텐시디 요대와들라 해와들라 이해레스.
So sometimes they're synonymous, and in this case, like Yishi is maybe contained within Shera, but it, like when you really kind of get down to, you know, some difference there, if you think of the words, the Ye and Yeshe means primordial, and the She and Shera means to know. So the Shera is a little bit more of like a relative knowing or wisdom.
Tela mata hirapta ye labgarwa. Ina yihesya ti tseknido yesya yesya.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so that's not, he was saying the she was not the she and Sherab, it was the she and Yeshe, which is the same she, I believe. Yeah. But it does, it means no, the ye means primordial and the she means knowing. So the primordial is referring to, you know, it isn't actually a knowing, it's just innate wisdom that is there primordially, that is co-emergent wisdom. Didn't
Tela hiba tela yelabgare.
And so to know that is yeshe, like it's knowing, the she is the knowing the primordial nature, the primordial innate wisdom.
It can be hirap jikpa chasagire, hirap yuna. Yang tada na yirang buddha nature to tosigirwa.
And sherab can be the same. It can actually, I mean, she is,
Hirap.
if you have sherab,
Ko tosigirwa.
then you can maybe realize.
You realize Buddha nature. Kind of like word is like a bit different, but probably meaning is maybe similar.
Two questions. The classification of mundane wisdom that we were talking about, the arts and linguistics and so forth, is that also the same as like the schemata found in Soa Rigpa, like study of astrology and so forth? Are same?
Gain senati soa rikpa yang dinda yang dinda rik kashe damandala garawa di chikpa re.
So we're going to kind of.
Pena dinda di rik kashe. Is it the 5 major and minor sciences in the soa rikpa too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought so.
You're talking about the within the Sovarikpa or?
Yeah, within.
So, di nana tanda Sovarikpa laga sama tsugruwa Sovarikpa da me tsugri me tele teni yang lu soya me jibu mayimba. Jatanga tuta pobe me tada peta kono chu jifa yorba yang ni tele ko tanda ni jibu chuya mayimba ni ke tambo ni ke jungkong hwate ni ji jen tene taman nacha naya tene yang tele yang joya te yang tene ji tambo tela tambo jungkok ba tene jen kok ba tene nacha kok ba la so ba chama yor ba je nang ju nang ko chu de be kasta mende ko ji chu tang de hyo chen bo pobe mende chu hyo chen bo hyo ro.
Yeah, so they are the same because, and also because in medicine and astrology, Tibetan medicine and astrology are very vast, and like Dharma is very much a part of that. So, for instance, it's not just like, you know, there's, for instance, knowing in medicine, like the cause, the condition, the actual manifestation of the illness, and kind of like healing that happens through like blocking or kind of counteracting the cause, counteracting the condition, counteracting the illness itself. And together with that is like, you know, there's the practice of Dharma as part of that. And so all of these sciences, major and minor sciences, also apply in the context of that practice itself.
That the Tirana Yitin, John Yitin Songduda, some Nato Jikta, Tandanga Tuda, Jikbana, Zalung Kilogomia, Yorwa, Tindutine, Ti nang ga hi me nang be huge detail yor wa be za condition do yo wa long condition do wa la so mat ne ga hi me nang la be ko za long nang be hip ta yor is pem yor is.
And also, Lord Jigten Sumgen, you know, in his teachings on like the channels, winds, and drops, he also talks about a lot of the details that are actually medical, you know, like, and their relationship, you know, with the channels, with the winds. Yeah.
Second question was about the supramundane wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
the second category,
Mm-hmm.
about impurity, impermanence, seeing. Does it referring to seeing the afflictive emotions as impermanent, as impure?
Or as impure. Yeah, I thought about that too, because like actually, what? There's no pure and impure, no clean and unclean, right? But
Right.
dine mitsangma de tsangma dimba gare nyom momba yang dinda de tsangma yimba ro di la gyurebe yang na di gane penanga to mitsangma gare tsangma yimba tam gyurebe.
Ta tsama tsanga to di ordinarily ki karsina nga to ta dualistic concept yor wa. Ina mo chorang ke di o ta di chorang ke de zokpa tsama chi do de zokpa re se ya chi du yo ma res. Ina ko reality chorang ke simtang de no de yor is. Ma to be kan tele ya in chi mi ni be tangbo tela ko chi zokpa tela tsama do ji sem de atini yo ma res.
But okay.
Ben me tsamba la tsaman zigi yor wa.
So
Yine yang ta
pena
tanda do me
gare
tsamba la tsaman zina ta ti
na lu ro.
me tsamba ri sha ta me tsamba ri se ya ji ko sem ge yo ma res. De karsina ko to ta ro wa da mi wa. Ni do rang ja so da mi to ta res.
So
Yine
it's
chinchi lo te chance chinchi lo chance tsama tsama tan do chinchi lo te he te ta ko to ro wa. Yine chinchi lo te yang cho chinchi lo te ji yang cho chinchi ma lo wa ji drop yo ma wa.
So it's kind of like
kind of
it's
like
kind of
past the
like
dualistic
misunderstanding within the context of dualistic grasping. So like of course when you transcend dualistic grasping, because you realize selflessness, then there is no pure and impure, you know. But when you are within dualistic fixation, then there is a mistaken concept about like what is pure or what is clean and what is unclean. So we take that which is to be unclean as clean, such as I think the body. He didn't say, but like the aggregates probably. Right?
No, ta ti ta nyen to rong ja ko to ta ro wa. Ben ta ta la in ba. Me tsang ba la tsang wan jing gi yo de la ro wa. Chorang no ri yo de la ro wa. Me tsang ba la te la. Ko ri me tsang ba te tsang ba la chorang ke tsang ma do de la bi yo ro wa.
So
Ta ta nga da mi ba he ji yo ro ta ta ti. Me tsang ba la tsang wa ra.
So like that which leads, so for instance, on the path of Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, you know, that, for instance, is based on kind of correcting that misperception, like, oh, that which we ordinarily take to be clean is actually unclean.
Ri clean and yin yang ko unclean tla the clean ri se ya ji yo ma res tla.
But you can't say that what is unclean is, what?
Okay, chorang te ro wa. Okay, you can careful. Okay, listening. So we thinking. Okay, you thinking this. Actually, this unclean, but you perceive this the clean, right? But there is the really unclean. There's no.
But it's also not really unclean.
Right.
Yeah.
So because otherwise you say okay this kopena cha kana chwa te yo wa cho da me bala te lela sa unclean is more confusing. Okay, da me la da tin zin ba zong lo.
It's easier if we talk about it in terms of self and
Right.
absence of self.
Ta choran ke da yo maris da an zi gi do la go.
So like for instance, we actually are non-self, but we take there to be a self.
양초 다 매와지 요래서는 요 말해라.
But then if we say, oh, well, then is there
That me, that
something
beyond that me
that
what
is
you-
self, non-self? Like, is that a thing? Non-self? No. Non-self doesn't exist either.
Right, so the same thing is we thinking, or you thinking this permanent, but impermanent. But there is, okay, this is impermanent. We cannot show the impermanence. Really is the past dualistic concept.
It's beyond dualistic
Beyond.
concept.
So that's,
So we're just referring to the aggregates, the skandhas?
yeah, all.
Yeah.
So these details, the many details, okay? So this dark is like kind of full thing. But then like within the dark
Self, he's saying
self,
self.
and then these many things, you know.
But I think he's asking about mitsangwa. Sang, what is that referring to? Like, nga cho danda mitsangwa,
right.
sangma zingyo re, gare mitsangwa zingyo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so metangwa tangwa zimba te tero, but that metangwa can be many things, though. But nga to lu de la chana lu de la metangwa.
So like the body, it
not
can
only
be
that,
referring to the body.
Tega na yita nga to pena ji nyom mba te la ko.
Or the afflictive emotions.
Metangwa rawa.
Like the afflictive emotions are unclean, but we think that they're,
Right.
yeah.
Thank you.
Oda ti indi ta zo karsana tere te. Nga zo ki sem ki ju ne rawa. Ta nyom mba ju ne. Kari yu wi na yang. Khan lan zimba yu ne te yang tong zung do wa. Mo tsama ji pa ma rawa. Chu chingye ji ina.
So, everybody is different. So the way that individual fixation manifests is different. So it's like, whatever kind of the individual person's object of fixation is, it kind of like is unique. Rebe.
What is unique?
Tena midrawa, mitsama.
Yore sina te la so.
Yeah.
Khan lan zimba yu na ten yang to sin da yu ne da ma da kon zimba da ma da yong zig wa.
So there are all sorts of different fixations, way in which different individuals fixate.
Te yang tong go gre sta me wa so go gre zung ro.
But so whatever that is, it needs to be seen and it needs to be eradicated.
So the individual is different, so these the issues, whatever afflict emotions, issues, they're different. But so this we, our side is, oh, your problem this, your issue this. We cannot, the judge, or lama, teacher, whatever you, others. But, however, what issues the no individual, right? So looks like. Also, how to analyze too. So first they tell us, tambo dunga hiuna, there's a kunjung hibar chasungudwa. Karina di choran tambo madewa ta hako yota, madewa ta kari tangugua. Madewa ka hako savigila, teen jungkung the hako gre songwa, the hako gres.
So for instance, like just as said, in order to overcome suffering, we have to understand the origination of suffering, the origin of suffering. So in identifying whatever it is, that makes us unhappy or that is,
Difficulties, problems.
then in knowing what the true source of that is what allows us to overcome that.
Right, so that one is I said not identical, our side. So your own, you understanding, so whatever, clearly individually, within you individually, and that one is, so you can working on. That ti kari yuna ngala ji problem ji yuna, ti problem de ha ko yorwa, ti problem maybe kitab da chi go yoris.
So whatever that issue is that is kind of the source or the main affliction, for instance, the cause of your difficulty or hardship, then that's mainly what we have to focus on, working on.
There's many methods, right? Ta nga zo jik ti magasala tine nga rangya yore nyengje gumya yore.
Like we can recite mantra, we can,
kinetic,
develop compassion, many methods.
reality. Also, o nga ta samotana problem samotana khari yungudu samotango gres.
We can also be practical and kind of contemplate what happens, when I focus on my problem in this way, then what happens, how do I feel?
Right, so you thinking again, so you just mewa chagdua dogrundugdua.
Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? To investigate.
Right. Ina chidi problem tiko khari problem tichina ko zamo yata dogrumata yandrug maris.
So usually when we focus in a particular way on our problems, they usually just get worse. They don't get better. So we have to recognize that.
Today, the second choice is you really want or you don't want. That is problem.
We don't want the problem.
Right. That is how to do dealing them.
So we have to know how to deal with it.
So there's many ways. So affect emotions there is, through meditation, through mentor, and through compassion, and through affect emotions is what we really very important. Okay, everyone, I said everyone, we call samsara here, everyone's issues, problems. So same thing we don't want, But same time, the issues or problems, difficulties is not permanent. The impermanence, they can change. We can fix. So that is like Buddha said here,
taking that which is unclean to be clean.
So sometimes the issues, problems, difficult. The one hand is not that difficult actually. Our own hand, you want to keep going or you want to stop.
It's up to us.
So really hard, but so everybody maybe keep going problems, So really is that sometimes the problem is you shouldn't thinking that is problem. So problem is sometimes problem or difficulty is difficult. But sometimes the difficulties, problem is good because you have more experience how to dealing their future problems.
We learn from our difficulties.
You're learning, And also, another thing is, I think Buddha said, because we call, I think, this the four directions, right? I think, like we call the mandala, Sagi Buchu, right? Do you remember? So the Shalhumpa, what east, west, how is it? Okay, Sagi Buchu, what is it?
In the east is
No.
superior body. This short mandala prayer. The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the four continents, and the sun.
Four continents, okay. Four continents. So the four continents, we are this in Zambalingba continents. So they said 3 continents, there's no suffering.
Jambudvipa, we're in Jambudvipa.
So because there's no enlightenment.
A rose apple continent.
Because the problem. So because no problem. We have problem, difficulties in Zambalimba, our continents, right? So the problems, issues.
which is a good thing.
This good thing, because we have this enlightened.
Because we have the potential to become
Right,
enlightened
so we
because
don't
we have
want-
problems.
We know cause suffering and the cause of suffering and so on, difficulties and so on. So, and also, really is the very important part is here said, this we spring like wisdom, right? The spring wisdom, spring wisdom
Supreme
means
wisdom.
You have wisdom, but more important, you have that is the bodhicitta. So that is spring, wisdom. So in the bodhicitta, it's not really come from your friends,
It doesn't really come from your
work,
friends.
Your friends maybe sometimes, what called this, the spiritual level is like, kind of like sometimes
Obstacle.
bigger obstacle. You are touched, So real is the spiritual friends is your, difficulties, your enemies. So because without enemies, there's no bodhicitta. If you're no bodhicitta, and you're no enlightened. So that's guarantee, Buddha said. So actually, it's kind of like most kind of gift, spring gift, not really physical. It's better than, $1 million, okay? Really, you give somebody give $1 million, you $1 million, you not achieve enlightenment. Maybe more greedy or you misuse or I don't know then. So really is that if you're really thinking, so then sometimes, I said, difficulties, some said difficulties, right? But sometimes the problem is joyful. So this instead of the difficulties. If you accept, sort of really thank you. So that's we said spring or dala down or what I call it. For
All
enemy.
mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me.
All right, so then really we understand. But otherwise, first relative levels quickly said, oh, you love to your enemies. What we're talking about, that's my enemy. But if you're understanding, then you value. So how you develop your side. So also this, because we said this sometimes we called bigger mind or small mind, whatever. But really is sometimes we really don't have the courage. And don't have the strength. Because the small issues that they hold, so that's
The
the
small issues, yeah.
They think big things. But if you really developed strength, your power. So in order to you build up strength, your power, you have control. This go facing the difficulties. Facing two difficulties.
Confront.
Confront, yeah.
Yeah. You have to confront.
Right, then you can build strength. You can build strength, So actually this really is the Dharma practitioner side, Everything is useful. Okay, you are friend. Okay, my friends, that's fine. But and this, you're more fun with your enemies, more opportunities. So then everything's good, There's nothing wrong. So, yes, ordinarily I said, this right, wrong, good, bad, this, my friends, enemies, so on. But the spiritual level, practical level is everything's good. Really is good. This kind of not make up like something be may be good, No, I think it really is the good. Kind of ultimately or what call this? Or ultimately relative level. One tani somodana.
Really and truly, if you think
Really
about
truly,
it.
that is like a really good opportunity. So then, also this how opportunity means you're really free. You cannot do anything, others,
No, others can't do anything.
Right. So because you try to harm, but more enjoy.
They try to harm you, but you just get happier.
Right. Really is that this, also this, I think maybe time is past, but Telawiwa, non-jikten power. So
Like
power la
Lord
word is
Jigten
power.
Simgan says, what is a true Powell? What's like a true kind of warrior hero?
Also, that's the become, warrior. Become hero.
Hero, but warrior is better.
Okay. So that's true. It is true, But we're going to there, like, take time. So challenges. But most important too, you have to understanding, So where is opportunity, Our spiritual path. So sometimes you don't know, so like about trigger is small things,
We get triggered by small things.
Right. So, okay. So are there questions? Okay, so no, maybe
We can
dedication.
do the dedication prayer on page 24 of the prayer book. The bottom of the page. By the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Dragungpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara.
Thank you. Right, thank you. So, so this camera is working? No. So maybe holding this calm, maybe we can. Huh? Yeah, you get a new one. So they can picture whole thing or no?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, so we have, this one takes a picture of the whole thing, and then this one, you can zoom out and get the whole room.
Yeah, this one's not necessary.
This one, I mean, yeah,
I mean, we can like focus it on tankas and other things,
And
but
it's-
we get the whole room already separate. With the Zoom.
so this one.
Yeah, but here is we cannot see this only.
Right,
Huh.
because
That's just because
I
of
can
the way
zoom
we
out.
do it.
Yeah, maybe you can zoom on how it looks like.
Yeah, everything.
oh my goodness, oh.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Merry Christmas. Thank you. Thank you.
There's this view, you can turn it so when holiness comes in, if he comes in this way, or if he comes in.
Right, so still we cannot see all the church pews.
You can't see all the church views, but even if we had this camera, you couldn't, because this camera focuses from above. So this one is designed specifically for.
But
Drupon, what we can do is get a camera from this side, then we see everything that way.
right, but still they don't see like only no church pews.
Right,
So
Actually, better this camera. I think. This camera goes this way, right?
this one,
So then there's this camera
only
too.
the front though. So that's why I'm saying, we can get one that will face.
Yeah, still that's not the whole thing.
So the only way to get everything from that end is a picture. So we'd have to get
Huh?
a special, we'd have to get a special camera. As a lens.
Right, these I remember go this way, right? This one. This see more.
Yeah, this one, Just, it's the same as that on the back wall.
But I think he's wondering, like, did it turn around and like?
Does not go 100%.
Oh,
It only goes like 90 to 90.
Yeah, before I remember this old, even though you can see all the way the door and the liquor bed outside the door.
That's right. So if you want, we can get a new one. That's easy.
Yeah, but
You can see the pews, but you have to kind of,
right there you cannot see here in front.
so now you can't see in front,
Right.
like that.
But that's, we can get one here. That'll give us more views.
I think more views, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, thank you.